Welcome back to the Just As We Are podcast. I'm your host, Katrina Lely, and I have a treat of an episode for you guys today. Oh my heart. Let's just say I am incredibly excited for you guys to hear this episode. I got to sit down and have a chat with my friend, Kelly Chase. Kelly Chase is a health and empowerment coach helping women love their bodies, career, and relationships. Recently, Kelly took a leap of faith to find love, putting herself out there on the #1 Netflix reality show called Love is Blind. That's right. She's excited to share her biggest relationship dating takeaways learned on the show, and more importantly, to discuss how our nutritional health is affected by our relationship, career, business, financial, and spiritual health, and that it is necessary to create a self-care routine to improve one's self-love and self-worth. Kelly and I got to sit down. We met actually, not quite a year ago, but we met through an online community through a coach that we both have worked with. We met in person back in October at the Mommy Millionaire Live event, and I had such an amazing time. I got to share a bed with her. We got to be in the same space together, and you walk away from her like changed a different person. Her joy that just oozes out of her, you cannot get away from. And I love that so much about her. We talk all things about empowering women. Why did she become a health and empowerment coach? You know, how she discovered she was trying to escape from her life and that it wasn't serving her anymore. And that's where she kind of started to step into the personal development journey. And then how she ended up on the show Love is Blind and what that experience was for her. You guys, this is an awesome episode. I'm excited that I got to have her on and bring her to you. And I cannot wait for you guys to hear this one. Welcome to the Just As We Are podcast. I'm Katrina Lely, a wife, mom in recovery, certified life and transformation strategist, community cultivator, lover of people, and student of life. Each week, I'll bring you love, inspiration, share the harder things people are afraid to talk about, and guests who are willing to shine their light for you. I give you self-care practices and mindset tips to help you shatter the negative stories you tell yourself. Now is the time to step into the beautiful, loved, whole woman you already are. Let's walk this journey together. Welcome back to the Just As We Are podcast. I'm Katrina Lely, and you guys, I feel so honored and so grateful, and I'm kind of giddy excited right now that I get to sit down with my friend Kelly Chase and just have a conversation with her and allow her to share who she is with you guys. Kelly and I met back in October. We had actually met through other avenues before that, but we met at the Mommy Millionaire Live event. We shared a bed with one another. We had no idea who we are. And I love sharing that with people because not everybody's willing to share a bed with a stranger. And then, you know, they're like, what are you doing? But I just love her so much. And I'm so grateful. Thanks for being here with me, Kelly.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so grateful to be here. So thank you.
You're welcome. You are just one of those people who is just, you can tell you have such a bright light and you are just full of beautiful joy and love and of energy. And we connected last year sometime. And we actually had a conversation about bringing you on the podcast at that time, and just schedules didn't work. And we knew we were going to be at Mommy Millionaire Live and things like that. And I just have to say, you are one of those people that, you know, you leaving that person feeling so much more full of beautiful energy than when you left them.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm like getting all bashful over here. Thank you. And that, I mean, to speak on a Mommy Millionaire Live event, I think that was such an eye opener for all of us. I mean, as you know, but I mean, I saw so much empowerment, confidence, and beauty come from you that, you know, over the course of those few days. I mean, you just stood up and I don't know. It's like not to say you should judge a book by its cover, but it's like you came across maybe more timid and, not as extroverted. And it's like, you were like one to raise your hand, you were popping up to speak, like, and you were vulnerable to share your story with a room full of, 100 women. And it was just very, very powerful and empowering for all of us. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I love when spaces like what Kayla Craft creates are created, where women who may be timid, because I was nervous. I was nervous for sure, going into a room full of women who I did judge by the covers, and walking into a room like that and knowing that it's a safe place and you're loved, where you can just open up and allow yourself to be exactly who you are, is one of the most beautiful things in the world. So I love that we both got to share that experience together. Share a little bit more about who you are, where you're from, because not everybody does know you.
Right. I know. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Yeah. So my name is Kelly Chase. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I am a health and empowerment coach. It's funny. One thing about that, I always find myself like not faltering, but like second guessing my title. Like I don't want to. It's almost like I don't have a title because I do so many things that I feel like if I'm like a health and empowerment coach, then I own about like fitness and nutrition. And it's like, no, it's so much more than that. Like I'm like a transformation coach. I'm a business coach. I'm like all the things in a mindset coach. And I feel like just like this like female empowerment, I'm always trying to like instill, like you were saying, like this positive light inside people and expand their mindset. But yeah, I'm a health and empowerment coach if we want to go with the title. But I help connect women to their purpose more or less. And, everything is connected from what we eat, what we put in our bodies, to how we move our bodies and our relationships, our career, our money mindset, to our spirituality, our self-love, and helping them to tap back into that and rediscover who they are, and to create more expansion and more opportunities in their life is my purpose, as you will. So helping people to get in the online space and all of that. But I was also on a #1 Netflix show called Love is Blind. For some of you who watched that, may have binged it. It was definitely a leap of faith. I had some hesitations going into it, but I knew that I had already started like a personal development journey prior to that show, and I knew that it's kind of like one of those things that's like, why not? And like, what if I do it? Like, why wouldn't I do something like this that creates an opportunity for myself to maybe fall in love? Like, why do I have to do it the traditional way? There's so many people who've been bachelor, bachelorette, they're all getting engaged and like their success story too. So yeah, I was just kind of like in this place of what if and why not me? So yeah, we'll probably dive more into that in a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's who I am. I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, in the city, living life and enjoying empowering other people to live their best.
I love that. It's so beautiful. Like, what drove you, or what brought you to this place of wanting to empower other women?
Yeah, so I got certified as a health coach back in 2013, but I guess, a part of me at that time, I hadn't really gone through a lot of challenges that were apparent to me. Let's put it that way. And then I endured a weight gain struggle. I mean, I gained, I think, like 35 or 40 pounds in what felt like 2 weeks. I mean, it was very traumatizing for me. So that was kind of the start of everything, because that is when I began to really educate myself a lot further into the health and nutrition space, deeper with the health coaching, but also started, I guess, diving a little bit into the personal development a little bit, not to the degree as I did so much like later on, but I was working a 9 to 5 job, and I've always, I think since I was like 24, I've always worked multiple jobs. And I got to this place of burnout, like complete burnout. It was like the same patterns with everything. It's like I would get up in the morning. Sometimes I taught spin classes. So it's like I had to get up at 5 a.m. sometimes, teach the spin classes, indoor workout, go to work all day, come home. And I'm either, coaching clients, putting workouts together for something else, maybe working a promotional job or something. I was like a workaholic. But now I know that that was because of, my financial mindset at the time too, because, I was told growing up that, to be wealthy or to have a lot of money, to work really hard. So that's what I did. I was working really hard. And on the weekends, I was just like completely disconnecting because I tried to like fit all of my work in Monday through Friday. So on Friday night, I was like, woo, I'm ready for my martinis and I'm ready to drink and go out and be social and just like disconnect from life, really. And I think that that's exactly what I was doing. Like I was voiding out feelings, voiding out my self-love and my self-worth. I just like didn't even know what that was at the time. And fast forward like 2017, I actually wound up quitting my 9 to 5 job. I was like, I just have to go. Like I've been in this place for 8 years or almost 8 years. And I really want to hone in on like my health coaching. And that was probably the pivotal point of my personal development journey. I started listening to podcasts. I think that's 2018, the spring of 2018 is actually when I met Kayla Kraft. She took one of my fitness classes because like I said, I did like some fitness stuff. She took a fitness class of mine, shared something on her Instagram and tagged me in it. And I was like, so I always check out who's like tagging me and things. And I like go to her page and I'm like, Mommy Millionaire, who's this girl? I like send her a DM and I'm like, I'm very interested in like what's happening, like who you are and like what you do and everything. So she was one of the people that started to like inspire me and, started listening to, she started podcast later on, but I just started like, I guess connecting with this whole like virtual space of people on Instagram that were doing things that I wanted to be doing or they had things that I wanted to have. And so I was just like reaching out to them. Again, started reading. I read more books in 2018 than I have in my entire life, I think. I mean, in that short capacity of time. Like it was incredible. And this was like over 8-9 months because I actually went on the show later on in 2018. We started filming the fall of 2018. After the show, I will say that the show I think was the catalyst for my deeper healing journey though. Because I mean, we're filming, 12 plus hour days. Sometimes it is 7 weeks long. We're having these super intense conversations with people that we just met, but we feel like we've known them for 9 months or 2 years because of the intense conversations that we're having, because you have to, like, might marry this person. Crazy. But it was so intense the entire time and very emotional. My mindset coming off of the show was not in the best space. Obviously I wasn't working really during that time either. So I just remember hiring my first like business and mindset coach, my friend Erin. It was like maybe a month or 3 weeks even after I was like, I am not in a good space and I need to get my business back in order and I just need to like get really focused in that. Cause I felt a little heartbroken after the show because yes, I said what I said at the altar on the show. We had communicated though that whether I said I do or I don't, that we would still continue dating, and that didn't happen. He said that he was emotionally unavailable after the show. So that left me in a very, very sad space. I was, like I said, I just felt like super rejected. And, sometimes when you feel rejected, you're like, okay, well, what can I do? And again, it goes back to that, like kind of filling the void. Like instead of sitting, I mean, I did some healing work with it, but not as intense as I probably could have or should have. But then I was like, fine, I'll just get my business going and I'll be fine with that again. And so I hired the coach. And honestly, I mean, I joke about it, but Erin did more for my mindset than she did my business. Like I say, my ROI was on my mindset. But that was so important because in order to have a healthy business, your mind does have to be in a good space. Mm-hmm. And she helped me through that healing journey from the show and helped me realize that I wasn't necessarily like in love with him. I just love the idea of having a companion. And, so I was still, it was like, I didn't like the fact that I got rejected. It was just that. Could have been anybody in a sense. So, but no hard feelings towards him, respect for him and everything. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of like the point where I knew that I wanted to do the same thing for other women was after working with Erin, because she just tapped into like every aspect of my mental health, more or less. Like we dove into my relationships, money mindset, my sexual health, even like everything. And obviously, yeah, she gave me some business strategy too, but that was just so empowering when I was having those breakthroughs and making the connections myself as to like what behavioral pattern is coming from, like where is this behavior pattern coming from, like where is that rooted from, where is this believer story coming from, and understanding and like linking it all together. I was like, whoa, it was just like mind-blowing moments one after the other. And so yeah, the beginning of 2019, just last year, was when I was just like, I have to do this. I have to incorporate this like intense healing mindset work with my coaching. And so I guess my title then was like not just a health coach. It went from health coach to the empowerment coach. So my mom told me that I can't have mindset coach as my title, because she was like, why do people think that they need to work on their minds? And I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, I'm just like, whatever. I'm a transformation coach. I don't know. But
oh my gosh. Well, so many people don't realize it is our mindset and our beingness that it doesn't matter what we go do. If that's not well and we're not taking care of that, it's going to leak out. All the icky is going to leak out into our relationships, into our business, everything, and it's going to crumble. I always think about, have you ever encountered somebody who is like, seems really successful, but there's this feeling you get about them that just is a little off. And then, sometimes down the road, you find out that they're a mess and stuff falls out from underneath them. It's because there's something that was not aligned within, some unhealed trauma.
Exactly.
I wanted to go back and take it back when you were talking about, you were working your 9-to-5 job and, you looked forward to Fridays and you're off and you're like, woo, I'm ready to do, and you were escaping from your life. I just did an episode on this not too long ago, because I don't have anything against anybody who drinks. Everybody on my show knows that I'm sober, but it is so glorified right now. Alcoholism is so glorified right now. And oftentimes what we are doing is trying to escape our reality.
Yeah.
And it's sad, because I think we're seeing it more, one, because of social media, and two, this quarantine is bringing up stuff for everybody. But it's sad, and I just want to give you props for like noticing, like that's where you were doing, is like trying to escape from your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely was. I mean, when I like let go of the 9-to-5, obviously I had so much more time on my hands to like sit with myself. And I would say the first couple of months, I was still kind of in that cyclical behavior of still just like dissociating on the weekends. And, I was finding myself, making out with guys at bars still. And like that, it was leading to just stupid decisions that way too, and it was just like, okay, Kelly, no, like, if you want to get married someday, you have to change your behavior to create a different result. Like, you have to. So what are you going to do? And, I will say this, like, I pulled back, like 2018, I legit, like, I went like complete, like 180. I mean, I was like Miss Socialite. I was out on the town all the time to like, I don't want to go out. I wasn't like calling people, because I'm like, well, I legit don't want to do anything. And those friends are going out still. Like that's what I was saying. Like I kind of like found like my whole, like a whole new friend group online. Like it was Kayla, it was Angie Lee, like all these people, these coaches, these mentors, these inspirations. I was just like DMing them or like watching their stuff, commenting on everything. And I found this like online community. And it's like, that's where I almost felt, like things were going in the right direction, but I lost it. It also became a very lonely place for me, because, when you don't reach out to people anymore and they're not reaching out to you anymore, you kind of start to internalize that too. Like, my friends don't like me anymore. Like they're not inviting me to do things anymore. I would see their stuff on Instagram, like they're all together hanging out. And I'm like, well, why wasn't I invited? well, Kelly, if you say no more than 2 times, they're probably going to be like, they're just going to make the assumption like you're not available or you don't want to hang out with them anymore. So, I will say this, I would maybe, there's balance to everything in life, and maybe pick and choose, like Friday night, have some self-love and do some work with yourself, and then maybe Saturday, like hang out with your friends for a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't completely like detach from your world. But, I mean, everything's a learning lesson. And those friends, they've come back around. Like I would say a majority of all of those friends are still in my life. They're still here for me. They're so glad that we've reconnected and life is good, again. But for a while there, it was very lonely. It really, really was.
So good. It can be lonely when you're stuck into a space of where you're ready and knowing your life isn't working for you right now and you need to change something. Because if you're around the people who are not in that space, it does get lonely because they don't understand necessarily, or you are changing, or you need to let go of some of those people, at least for a time being, until you can come to a space of that peace and balance and understand a better understanding of yourself.
Exactly.
I love that you shared that.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the show. I will tell you, like, when I heard the show was coming out and I saw you promoting it, I was trying to put pieces together because we had already been to Mommy Millionaire Live, and I was like, wait, she's going to be on a Netflix show. Was this before or after, or when was this? And I didn't realize it was long before we ever even met. And just thinking, like, I shared a bed with Kelly Chase and she's on the Netflix show. But it was so funny to see. I had friends come up to me, some of my girlfriends, we were chit-chatting and we were talking about Netflix shows, and one of them says, oh my gosh, have you watched that show, Love is Blind? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm just listening because I'm like, yeah, I've met Kelly. She's pretty awesome. Like, it's funny. I tried not to go there too much, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I know that person. I know that.
I would do the same thing.
It's so fun. And I got to take it a step further. I'm like, and then I shared a bed with her, and like people are like looking at me like weird. I'm like, we were at a women's development. It's okay. I've done it before. It's completely safe.
Totally. You were, and we were great bed mates. I mean, neither of us moved. Like,
yeah,
I didn't feel you like, sling an arm across my body.
Which is good because those beds were not made for 2 people, really. Those were so small.
It was like an extended twin bed.
Oh, I love that. So you're on the show, you're going through this. I mean, you are so putting yourself out there. And I loved what you said earlier in talking about doing it. It's like, well, why not? Why does it have to look a certain way? And I love that you stepped into that space of, well, why does it have to look a certain way? Why not? Why not? What's the worst that can happen? I mean, obviously after the show, because of, the way things are seen and because things didn't work out between you and Kenny, people are upset. How are you handling all of not only the haters, let's say, on online, but, the other stuff too? The are people recognizing you, like all of this good stuff that comes with it as well?
Yeah. Well, I'll say about the haters in a sense. Like, I mean, there were, obviously I would see comments. I was trying not to read a lot of it, and it was helpful because I do work a 9 to 5 too. So I silenced all my notifications and like kind of like put my phone away while I was at work. So that helped me to reduce time of like just sitting there scrolling through comments. But of course I caught some, and of course they bothered me. They triggered me. When we were human, I can't say that they didn't trigger me. There were times I wanted to be, not nasty to them, but just respond and like, you have no idea who I am, what even went on. But I just would respond like, please choose kindness on my page, like I would try and leave it at that because I'm trying to, elicit kindness and spread love and positivity, and I can't retaliate to these people. So, it was that. Obviously I would get some hateful DMs too, and usually either just like block the person or delete the message. There were some I would respond to and just whatever, choose kindness, thanks, bye. But as far as like the positive, I mean, because I mean, granted, yes, we probably are more affected by the negative than we are the positive. One comment could derail us for an entire day, but the positive, I mean, I think a lot of it too was coming from like people that I know, the comments and messages, text messages, calls that I was getting from friends, family, you know, people that I've met only one time, like yourself, it's like, there was just so much positive like reinforcement coming from it. Like, I'm so proud of you, like for putting yourself out there, and you're so brave, you're so courageous. Like, you stayed true to who you are. I mean, one of my best friends, she legit sent me a text and she said, "Thanks for being the most boring person on reality TV." And she goes, "I mean that in the best way possible." She goes, "But Kelly, like, you were you, and not to say that you're not a boring person, but you're just so like, you're just genuine, and you're just like this girl next door. Like, people just like you because you're just you, and you're real and natural and normal. Like, there was no heightened drama. Like, everything just stayed nice for you." And it's been that. Granted, I mean, the last episode aired, I think a week and a half before the world shut down because of, what's happening, the unfortunate circumstances of COVID-19. So it's funny, I got recognized right before it shut down by like two men. I was out and about, and two guys were like, "Aren't you that girl from the show?" And I'm like, "Nah." So I did get recognized by them. And then, like I said, the world kind of shut down. So I'm like, hadn't been, but things opened up here in Atlanta recently. And so I did go to pick up some food somewhere, and there were some people like standing outside, like waiting on their dinner as well. And this guy walks up to me, he's like, "Our significant others recognized you. Do you mind coming to like talk with us for a minute?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." And they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sure you get this all the time." And I was like, "Guys, remind you, we've been locked up for 3 months." I go, "I live by myself. No, I don't get this all the time because I haven't seen anybody in 3 months." I was like, "No." I was like, "Ask me all the questions. I want to feel like loved." But, and I just loved it. I mean, I love connecting with people, and, I'm always going to be myself. And I feel like even if someone came up to me and were like, "Oh my God, you totally like, just broke that man's heart," or whatever, I'd be like, "Actually, no, that's not what happened. Like, really, are you going to believe everything you see on TV?" Right. But no, I mean, I think, what I was saying before we started, like, I have been a little overwhelmed with just like, there's a lot of like energies, and I know you probably understand that. And I hope some of your listeners do too, but it's like your subconscious and your conscious mind. It's like, you're just like, you're feeling all these energies because like, I know that there's people on social media in my DMs making comments. Like, there's people like interested or invested in who I am as a person. And so it's like I don't know, my like soul can feel those energies. And so I've been like really weighed down. I haven't, I have my coaching business, and I wasn't really actively like coaching over the last few months up until recently because I was just so exhausted from everything. But as soon as, weird enough, but awesome enough, as soon as I started coaching again, and like I had a master class a couple of weeks ago inside my Facebook group, like there was like this newfound energy. And it's because I was doing what I'm passionate about doing. It was just very neat to like recognize and bring awareness to that. So just shout out to all your audience members. Like, if you're not doing what you love, your energy is going to feel depleted by it.
Yes, I so resonate with that. And I have found myself there through this time, like, getting on the social media, scrolling, so easy to do. Then you get into comparison with what are other people doing. And when you're not in alignment with what you are passionate about, the way it's meant for you to show up, not how so-and-so is showing up or how so-and-so is doing it, but you showing up, like, your energy will be depleted. You will feel so down and out of alignment, and it's not a great place to be, because that's what you're putting out too. Even when you're not necessarily creating anything, that still comes through and comes out.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I mean, of course, I'll be honest, I was definitely comparing myself, even to like my cast members, because I'm like seeing some of them, having all these press releases and press conferences, and like, they were all on Ellen, and I was like, what? I made a joke on my Instagram, but I was like, was like, Kenny, come back to me so we could go on Ellen. I was so bummed, but I did I was grateful and I'm so happy for all of them. But there was a space of comparisonitis because I'm like, oh my God, they're like just doing so much. And I just don't feel like I am, at that point. And so, I'm just being honest with you. I think that again was definitely, hitting that energy level of mine too, and it stinks that I allowed that to affect me like that, but it did. And then just sitting there scrolling and like looking at, different mentors and coaches that are just, this happens at any rate, but that are doing things that you want to be doing, or you're seeing success in other coaches and, oh, but I feel so drained. I can't even I don't even have time or energy to put towards my business right now. It's a lot of that. So yeah, there was like a space of jealousy and comparisonitis that came in, and it stinks to admit that, but it happened. But like I said, as soon as I started to just go again, I've just been in such a better space. And tonight I had a call with a client and just learning so much about like where she's at in her life and helping her to expand her mindset. I was like, yes. Like I didn't want to get off the phone with her. I was like, let's just launch your business tomorrow. It was so great. I just love doing that and helping and empowering people. And, it stinks that I fell into this disempowered spot for a little while, but
yeah. And you're human, and that's one lesson I'm glad that you're sharing on this, because I've been in that space too. Just launching my coaching business, getting certified 2 weeks later, states in lockdown. Granted, my business is online anyway, but it turns everybody into a state of chaos. And then me watching other people, forgetting that they have 3, 4, 5, 10 years on me in the space, and the expectations of myself, and thinking it's got to look a certain way. And it's like, no. And when stuff comes up, it's being right there in the moment and not going into those spots of comparison, because it robs us of being in that creative mode and being who we are, and remembering we're human too. Like that's one big lesson in coaching is like, I'm not supposed to be perfect. I'm just supposed to be 1 step ahead, 2 steps ahead of my client. Like that's how we teach, is by just being a little bit ahead of somebody else. So I love that so much. And so with the show too, would you do it again?
I would do it again if there was not a wedding at the end of it. Yeah. Like I didn't mind, granted, yeah, I wish you as a girl, you kind of always dream about your big day, and and I kind of almost had to put on this facade like I'm acting, although I wasn't acting. It's like, Kelly, you're just playing a part in a theatrical performance, just so that I could be okay with what I was doing in a sense. Because like I said, it was hard, showing up in a wedding dress and your parents seeing you for the first time in a wedding dress. That's something they dream of their entire, parenthood too. So that was hard. But I could get engaged again on a TV show. That would be fine. Okay.
How was your family in all of this? Were they supportive of you? What was their take on all of it?
Yeah, they were very supportive. When so I told my parents that I was doing the show, or going to it, that I was interviewing for it and stuff. And then when it was actually a couple of days before I left to go film, that I told my mom. I went home and I told my mom the actual truth about the show, that there could be a wedding at the end. I left that part out in the beginning, because I literally thought she was going to be like, hell no. So, I said that, and I was very hesitant, but I was like, I need to tell her just in case. And I thought, I was under the impression, I was expecting this, over my dead body, you're going to do something like that. We've been dreaming about this for years. We want this perfect wedding. But no, she literally was like, well, I guess keep an open mind. You never know. And I was like, what? I go, that's not the response that I was looking for. But I said, okay. She goes, Kelly, you just never know. It doesn't. And maybe that's why it kind of encouraged me to just be like, what if, because of my mom's words and her little bit of encouragement there. But yeah, I was definitely like, all of them were very supportive. I mean, my sister was supportive as well. Obviously, they showed her a good bit on the show too, giving me some love, some TLC. So everybody, yeah, I mean, everybody was very, very supportive. Friends, showed up for my wedding as well. So everybody was super, super supportive, and I mean, still are. So
That's awesome. That's so awesome to have that support system there in place for you. And I was just reminded, I was thinking, you mentioned, I'm not doing everything else everybody else is doing, with the press releases and things like that, but you have stood so much in who you are. Not saying that everybody else on the show hasn't either, because I don't know them, but you've stood so much in who you are and in your truth. That is so huge in itself. And you got really vulnerable on the show. You shared pieces of yourself that people would not even share in a group of 500 people. I remember you talking about, some of your sexual stuff and things that you've worked through. And I was just in awe of that. It's something I knew about because I recall us having kind of a little conversation around it, but I was just like, holy crap, girl, you just shared this in front of the whole entire world. You're amazing for doing that, because not everybody would be willing to get so open and vulnerable. I love that about you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was, I mean, I can like remember that day like it was yesterday. I mean, we were kind of encouraged to talk about sex and should we do it. We were the only couple that hadn't at that point, or maybe one of the last couples that had not at that point. And so I think they just really wanted to encourage us to have a conversation about it. And like, is it going to happen? Is it not? That kind of thing. And so yeah, I remember Kenny like literally put his hand like on me and was like, you don't have to talk about this. And I like, they stopped rolling the cameras, and I looked at the producer and I was like, no, I want to talk about this. I was like, I want to, because I know my conversation is gonna help some female out there. Maybe it's just one, but I'm sure it's gonna help more than that. And they were just like, okay, keep rolling. And so I like turned back around and I was like, for real, I'm fine. Like, I know that like watching myself back in that conversation, I think I did feel a little uncomfortable because I was kind of like, I don't know, like prancing. Like I wasn't as confident in how I was like conveying the message. I felt. I mean, me just watching myself back. Like now I can like openly talk about it and it just like flows out of my mouth. But honestly, too, it may have been because there was 5 other people in the room and I wasn't just having an intimate conversation with Kenny. Like I was talking in front of like 3 different men, cameramen and the producer. So it wasn't as intimate because I was getting super vulnerable with everybody. It was very intimate getting vulnerable with everybody. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like looking back at how it was portrayed, like, obviously I'm so glad that I did, because I did get a lot of response from that. I mean, there were women reaching out on Instagram, just sharing like, thank you so much, because, I'm not alone kind of thing. And it's true. We're not. Like, there's so many things that happen, with our relationship health and our sexual health that we it really does stem from like stories and stuff. And I mean, a lot of people, how it looked from that conversation was that I was not sexually attracted to Kenny and that's why I wouldn't have sex with him. And it wasn't that at all. That wasn't the story. It was because, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I had started this personal development journey prior to going on the show. And I told myself, remember, I was making out with boys in bars and things like that. Like, I was not loving myself enough. I was diminishing my own self-worth. And so I was creating the change that I wanted to see. And it just so happened that Kenny was this next relationship where I told myself, I'm not going to sleep with the guy until I have created a very strong emotional connection with them. And again, Kenny was just kind of that next person. And so that's what I was trying to explain in that scene, was that I need to make an emotional connection with you, because I don't just want to have sex and then it just be like that and us not be communicating effectively. Like, I think people just need to communicate better in the bedroom so that it's just more intimate. And if you do have any problems or challenges, you can work through it together, obviously, too. So, I mean, I dated a guy after him and known him for years. I waited 3 months before I had sex with him. So, I mean, I don't want to know Kenny for like 3 weeks. Yeah. So,
I love that. I love that you openly share and talk about that, because it's not something that I normally would open up and talk about, but I've been kind of pushed into that space with where I'm at in my own journey to be more open and talk about that stuff. And so I love that you do, and you advocate for it, and you talk about it, and you're so open with your journey, because like you said, then women know they're not alone. That's like such a huge piece of a key that so many of us, when we keep our mouths shut and we keep our stories quiet and we don't share, we think we're alone, and we're not. And there is freedom in knowing that we're not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know it was interesting because like I said, I did a master class like a week and a half ago, and I shared one of my trauma stories. And I have never, like in a really long time, I've shared this story multiple times to people, but like more on an intimate level, some guys I've dated or friends. But there was like 30 something women on this phone call, and I actually got emotional, and I had not done that, I don't think, since not necessarily the trauma happened, but within a close proximity of the trauma happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just when I did share this story with the guy I dated, a year or so ago, he was like, he goes, "It's so interesting how you just say it so matter of factly. Like you have like no emotion about it." And I was like, "Well, it just happened. Like, whatever. But it was interesting because as I was sharing the story, I started to cry with these women. And later on, one of the girls that was that tuned into it, we were texting back and forth through Instagram message. And I was like, "That's so weird that I did that." Like, it's just blowing my mind that I got so emotional. I said, "I legit have not done that." And she goes, "I think it's because a part of you knew that you were actually like you were helping so many people on that call that night." She goes, "You've only talked to maybe one person before about it, maybe in like certain scenarios, but not like a group of people." And she was like, "You were providing such healing for all of us. And I think like a part of you just knew that. And it was a release and a healing for you as well to speak on such a platform about it." And I was like, maybe that was it. I don't know. Maybe so. But it did feel good to share that story and know, like, I was on a Zoom call with all of them. So, they were tearing up too. And some of them shared the same thing. Like they were like, "We've gone through similar traumas." And, there really is that freedom in knowing that you're not alone, and that it does need to be talked about. Every challenge, whether it's small or large, I think that there's so much that can be healed through just sharing that story.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely agree. I just so appreciate you, coming on and being so open about your journey. Is there anything else that you want to share with us?
Yeah, all the time. I could talk forever. Just keep challenging yourself, leaning into discomfort. There's always joy and love and freedom and like peacefulness on the other side of fear. And, have my biggest thing is vulnerability and communication. And as you tap more into who you are and who you want to become, you'll be more open to communicate better with people, and be vulnerable, have those tough conversations, because those tough conversations are legitimately going to lead to that joy and happiness that you're looking for. Maybe it's heartache at first, but eventually it will lead to that joy and happiness. And I just, I want people to just know that they can become better versions of themselves every day with just like the simplest thing as writing what they're grateful for 3 times, to creating a life that they are literally craving and desiring. Like we all can do it. We all have the opportunity, and we have the choice every day to wake up and create that opportunity for ourselves. Yeah.
So beautifully said, and so much truth in what you just shared. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so on Instagram, it's Chase Life with Kelly, at Chase Life with Kelly. And then I have a private, like women's only Facebook group. Also, the group name is Chase Life with Kelly. You can access it through my Instagram account too if you can't find it in a search. But working on my website right now. But otherwise, yeah, so Facebook and Instagram is pretty much where you'll find me. I'm silly on Instagram. It's fun.
It is. It's so much fun. I love it. I love following you on there. Thank you so much again for coming on and sharing your heart with us. I so appreciate you. And you guys, I know you loved this episode, so make sure you go follow Kelly, tag us, share it all over your social media. And that's how we get our message out to the rest of the world, is with your help by sharing and, tagging us in that. So thank you so much again, Kelly. I'm so glad that you could be here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Wait, don't stop listening yet. Just as we are, fam, I so appreciate my listeners. And you know what would be so incredibly awesome? Is if you just took a few moments, headed on over to iTunes, and left me a 5-star review of the show. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with your communities. Tag me at Katrina Lely. My message, my mission doesn't get out there without your help. Until next time.